3, 2, 1.
Rerun it. Go again.
Go. Sasha is the co-founder of Real Humans, an agency that's rewriting how brands approach content. She's leading the charge in making marketing feel human again, helping brands move away from corporate cringe and actually connect with audiences. Sasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
How are you?
As you can tell, not nervous whatsoever. New place.
I'm so honored to be the first pod guest in the new office.
Yes, we are honored to have you here.
I'm really glad you have exposed Brick, because if you don't, you're not really a marketing agency.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I think one thing that's been in the works for a bit now is to have like a little Yap neon light.
Yeah.
Stan's been on my case to get that running.
No, that would be the finishing touch. I think you do need to do that.
I think the wall is cool.
Yeah.
Compared to the one in the older office, it had it was just like black walls.
Yeah.
And for a person with like darker features, I like blend in with the wall quite easily. So I'd have to like wear like a red hat to like stand out from my head.
Okay.
But yeah, let's talk about the Oscars.
Let's talk about it.
It was from the time recording. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you watch it? How much of it? What did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't tune in on TV or anything. Yeah. But of course, like most people, I caught snippets of the most viral moments on social. And yeah, it's been cool. I mean, I feel like there wasn't too much scandal, but a few notable moments for sure.
No, there wasn't a Will Smith slap this time.
No Will Smith snap.
No. I'm trying to think, what are other like crazy moments? What's crazy to me is that the most popular selfie in the world came from the Oscars.
It was with the one that Ellen did?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it had like Brad Pitt and all of them.
Right.
And like it just goes to show you how like big and how prestigious of an event that is.
Yeah.
Like is it the best? It is the best award show every year, I think. It's the most prestigious anyway.
I feel like it's the most prestigious for sure. It's been really interesting actually watching the viewership change over the past few years though for the Oscars. Like the TV viewership has been declining every single year steadily, but the social media consumption of the event has increased every single year. So I think that's pretty interesting to just see the change in how the new generations are consuming these big marketing events and awards.
Because I was going to ask you that. Was that like, we see, obviously, TV is dying, as we can all know and tell. But you often see these like TV shows translate into socials really well. Yeah. Like, they're almost doing numbers. I don't know if this is a stretch, but they're almost doing numbers that were bigger than TV numbers, even at their prime. Yeah. And so, do you think these award shows are dying, or do you think they have to shift in this way?
I don't think the award shows are going to die. I think there's always going to be a place for these huge events, and there's always going to be brands that want to be involved in marketing through these events. But I do think there's been a shift in the way those events are run. There are moments in the Oscars now that you can see have probably been orchestrated for a viral moment. So I think the Adam Sandler moment is probably a really good example of that. You know, he sat there. Let's talk about it. How great the personal branding is there, because like he knows his personal brand. He's sitting there in basketball shorts at the Oscars, and he gets booted out, right? I feel like that moment probably was orchestrated for a viral social media moment. So I think like it's a masterclass in branding and marketing, and the Hollywood know exactly what they're doing, and I do think they'll continue to evolve.
I think they did it playfully as well. Like yes, you can tell it's scripted, but I think they did it in a way where like it's charming. Yeah. Like, and it's really like it was Adam Sandler was the perfect person to do it too, because he is authentically himself. Like, he's always been in these like super baggy ass like basketball shorts. And this like super cozy fleecy hoodie, and that was like actually the biggest moment that stood out from that entire award show for me anyway. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me too. Yeah,
and then
definitely.
Just him screaming at Timothée Chalamet, and just like walks off.
So iconic.
Which makes me go to Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
I think I have the biggest man crush on this man. I need to say that right now.
I really respect you saying that, because if anyone says they don't, they're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had to say it so other people can feel what I'm saying. But I think he's had a perfect Oscar campaign. I think for a lot of times these like Hollywood people, or these Hollywood actors, should I say, they do their rounds with the press tours and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're always doing like the more conventional cycle in Hollywood. So like let's go on this late night show. Let's go on this late night show. Let's do this podcast that is hosted by another celebrity.
Yeah.
But Timothée Chalamet like really took that and like ripped the script.
Totally.
And he just went like fully internet first.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
No, it's been so cool to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what other celebrity has turned up at their own celebrity lookalike contest?
Dude, I forgot about that.
It's
Dude,
so cool.
That was so big as a cultural moment. Like,
Yeah.
And it was big on its own, but
Yeah.
then him showing up just made the whole thing so much bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was the first lookalike contest to really kick things off.
Yeah, and now it started this big like wave of these contests.
It's like every celebrity that you've ever had a crush on has a lookalike contest now.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's the funniest thing ever. I really love the fact that like he's jumping on these like unconventional podcasts. Like he's hopping on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Yeah.
He's talking to like Brittany Broski, like a person that like solely came off of TikTok.
Yeah.
And like who was the last person? Like he had a conversation with like Nardwar, like
Yeah.
the Russian Soviet guy.
Yeah.
That does like he's so good.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a precedent, and I think that will set a really good precedent for actors moving forward. Because I think I don't know if you confirm or deny this, but I think there's like just like TV, I think Hollywood is slightly dying.
Yeah.
And I think that like illusion of like them being above or better than the internet is slowly coming to seize.
Yeah.
And I think to stay with the times, they've got to hop on like Hot Ones and do that like hot wing eating show.
Totally.
They've got to do this Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So do you think this is a step in the right direction, or do you think we should look at celebrities as celebrities?
I think celebrities have seen the way that TikTok influencers have like harnessed this platform to really connect with their audiences on a much more like personal level. Like your favorite TikTok influencers, you feel like you're friends with them. Like, I don't know, Brittany Broski, I'm like, feels like I just like FaceTime
Feels
her
like
every
bestie.
now and then,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, I could totally go for a drink with her and we'd have a great time.
Yeah.
I think celebrities have seen that and they've decided to jump on the bandwagon. Timothée Chalamet's sort of campaign in the build up to the Oscars, it reminds me a little of the not to get into politics, but the presidential race in the US.
Yes.
And watching how Trump did harness the power of these more unconventional types of media, jumping on podcasts and stuff, and the reach he achieved from doing that was pretty incredible. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that in the future in political campaigns. But obviously, we'll also see more of that in other types of campaigns. And I think Timothée Chalamet's done a great job of it.
It really stood out to me with the Trump thing because on his, I don't know what you call it, but like the day that they announced the presidency, I guess.
The inauguration. That's the one.
Dana White came and he was like a really good friend of Trump, and he was like thanking certain YouTubers and like straight up Twitch streamers for helping the president win, and like they're now edged into history.
Yeah.
Like they were a significant chunk of like the youth vote that like made, love it or hate it, the president win the election.
Yeah.
And so, I think.
And now they're all being invited into the White House for the
they're being
press.
like, yes, they're being actually like journalists, which is insane. I don't know how.
There's been some controversy around that whole topic, right?
Yeah.
And how, a lot of these like influencers don't understand the impact of coming into those situations with biased opinions. So that's been really interesting. But I think what we can all agree on is that these like less mainstream media methods have proven themselves to be really effective. And so we've seen presidents jump on it and we've seen celebrities jump on it and we've seen it work really well for both of those parties.
I think the general shift into the internet is a really strong one because it's not just happening with Hollywood. I think it's also happening with brands. And people don't connect with like highly polished people so much anymore. That's why brands are moving into UGC content. Now, this is the brands. This looks like the brands trying to use real people to sell products, but most of them don't know how to do it properly. And Sasha, your entire thing is rehumanizing social media. But brands still struggle with this. They want authenticity, but they're still making influencer ads feel forced. Why do you think brands keep messing this up?
I think brands really struggle to let go of their brand guidelines. And there's this fear that there could be reputational damage from influencers saying the wrong thing. But the most incredible brand creator collaborations I've seen are ones where it feels really authentic to that creator. So at Real Humans, one thing we insist on is we never provide scripts to our creators, because you can spot a scripted piece of content from a mile away. Like, everyone knows that's a scripted piece of content, and there's something really inauthentic about that. The most genuine pieces of UGC are the ones where a creator has been given free rein to talk about their true experience with a product or service. And when you consume a piece of content like that, it feels like you're getting a recommendation from a friend.
Yeah, rather than like, this is an ad brought to you by...
Totally, yeah. And I think that's probably what influencer collaborations used to feel like. But this was back when... most influencers had gotten to their position accidentally. Like, for a long time, the people who had the most followers never set out to get them in the first place. But these days, we know, like, that is a career in its own right. Being an influencer, it's hard work, and a lot of people put many hours and a lot of years into building up a good following. So we also know that a lot of the sponsored content they put out, they're receiving big dollars back from it. And we also know that a lot of these influencers don't live a quote unquote regular life anymore. Like, I don't know, I look at some of these like influencer mums. Is it Avery Woods?
Yes.
You're probably not following
yes.
influencer mums.
I've heard of her.
Yeah. And whilst I love her content and I follow it for entertainment, I don't follow it for recommendations because, truth be told, I know she's receiving thousands or more dollars for every product she recommends to me. Most consumers are smart and can see through that. So for me, working with micro influencers or people who don't have a following at all, but they're just really good at creating content, to get those like genuine reviews and testimonials, to me that feels a lot more effective. And I expect we'll see brands moving in that direction a lot more, and probably a little bit more away from working with big influencers.
Because just on that, I think that there's something that is really interesting that, well, multiple, but the one thing that really stood out to me was the difference between like them recommending, like, you getting a recommendation from a friend and then somebody like straight up selling your product. And I definitely feel that because I'm a big like podcast listener, and you can tell when like the stand-up comedian is talking about a product that they've been paid to sponsor, or they're talking about like their latest live show that's coming up. The tone is so much different, and
100%.
you can always tell the sponsor is scripted. And I just really want to touch on the micro-influencer thing you mentioned. So there's the argument that why would I work with a micro-influencer when I could hire somebody that is known by millions of people? What is your argument to that?
So there are two KPIs you could be looking at when you're working with a creator. The first one is reach. If you're trying to reach a new audience, you are probably more likely to want to work with an influencer who has an established following, because you're going to reach their audience. If you work with a micro-influencer or a UGC creator, you'd be doing so to develop content, and you'd want that content to be really engaging so that the algorithm reaches that content out to new people, or so that you can run that content as really effective paid ads. I think there's two very different reasons why you'd work with influencers versus creators. I don't think that one is better than the other, but I think there are reasons to choose one or the other.
And I think that, like, based on that, so is there a specific example that of a brand that does UGC really well that you're like, that would be the dream scenario?
Totally. Have you heard of Loop earplugs?
No.
Have a look at Loop earplugs. They basically developed these earplugs that help to filter out loud noise but don't drown out noise completely.
For like festivals and stuff?
So there's a few different like profiles of customer that they're targeting, but the three sort of key targets are the young professional group who are really concerned about having good focus and being able to concentrate on their work. Then there's festival goers who want to attend gigs and not have damage to their hearing. I know how much you love a gig.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I feel
R&B
like
guys.
maybe you're in the market for some
Yeah,
loop
I might
earplugs.
be.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then you've also got parents who have children like screaming at them. I can hard relate to that.
Yes.
And that group of people don't want to like fully plug their children out, obviously, but we're wanting to like quiet down the noise so that we can focus and not feel overstimulated and be good parents.
Yeah.
So they've got three pretty different profiles in their customer base, and they use UGC to connect really well with each of those different groups of people. So if I see a ad featuring someone at a music gig partying and like managing to not burst their eardrums as a result, I don't really connect with that. Right. But as a mum of two young kids, I totally connect with that other messaging. Yeah. And I want to see another mum telling me that that product is good. I'm going to believe that if I see a mum telling me that they've had an awesome experience with using that product. Yeah. So they do a really good job of representing the different types of customers that they have and the diversity of those customers by featuring creators who look and sound like those customers in all of their content.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because it's gotten to the point where to go after this UGC style of content, I've heard and seen a lot of brands provide their customers with like a brief to make that UGC content.
Yeah.
And it's almost been a thing of like the actual, like they're a customer first, then they become a UGC creator.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the times people genuinely buy the product and they do a little review on it and suddenly they become like a brand ambassador for the brand.
Yeah. That's like the most genuine way to get there, right? Like if you've got someone who really genuinely wants to rave about your brand and you can get them to then create some awesome content for you, like that's the most genuine type of UGC that you can get. But a lot of brands don't have customers who are engaged enough or comfortable enough to create UGC style content for them, even if they would rave about the brand. So that's where it's really great to have access to some awesome UGC creators who you have on your books and you can return to time and time again. You know they create really good content, but you also know that they are really genuine and the content comes across as authentic. Yeah. So your customers are going to really trust that.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that like we crave more than ever is just like the feeling of like another human telling you what it is. Like I think in general we are sick of traditional advertising, and I think yes, UGC content in a way is advertising, but it comes in the form of again that like recommendation from a friend. My question is there a limit? So like if I am a UGC creator, is there a limit of brands I can do that to? Because you can only do that so much until like the audience goes like, all right, brand number 37, what now? You know? I
mean, you'd be surprised. Like the truth is people don't, I find there's actually a real problem with ego in marketing. Okay. A lot of brands feel like, like people are sick of seeing the same person or they're sick of seeing our same messaging over and over again. People aren't sick of seeing the same messaging over and over again because they haven't remembered it the first 5 times they heard it. As much as it's really important to switch things up and continue testing new messaging as a brand, it's also really important to not let ego into the chat and just like you can totally keep doing the things that are working over and over and over again and just assume that everyone's forgotten about it because realistically, like most of them probably have.
Yeah. Yeah, and every time, like, the strong argument to that is that every time you post, it's potentially to a new audience. So yes, blank person has seen your video 4 times in a row, but it's also 4 different sets of people that saw your videos. Yeah. And so that's like a bigger opportunity to capture a wider audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people should just get over, like both the creators and the audience themselves. So because like there's no point in you could just keep scrolling. You don't have to say, oh, you keep posting the same video 3 times
There's
in a row.
always one who's gonna comment.
It's always the no profile photo having.
Oh my God,
2
and
followers.
like a Bible verse in their profile. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's always one.
Yeah, especially with like in our content with the attention seekers, that sometimes we are the face of the content, and so some of the comments you'd be like actually surprised at like how unhinged people can get. With being faceless, and I think that's something people need to work on. Maybe introduce verification to social media or something. But yeah, it's just it's crazy how people can get really ruthless.
You don't want to be like looking too deeply into your comment requests.
And it's
sometimes.
hard. It's really hard because especially like when you're new to it. Like I don't know about you, but like I am new to this whole camera stuff. So when I am posted on the attention seeker, I'm like actively going through every single comment like a psycho, seeing are they saying good, bad, nothing about me. And some could argue if they're saying good or bad, it's good still, but we are humans with feelings.
100%, and it can be really hard to read some of those comments. But equally, it's really fun responding to hate comments sometimes.
That's where you do all the engagement.
Totally. I'm like, you want to hate? I'll have a great conversation with you in the comments, and I'll get more reach as a result. So thank you kindly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy part is that while brands are trying to feel human, in general, we're having this like insane surge of AI generated content pushed to us. So what brings me to the next question is AI making marketing better, or is it killing its creativity?
I think we need to remember that AI is a tool to enhance real humans. It is not here to replace real humans. I have been seeing this flood of AI-generated content online recently. There's been a lot of talk on LinkedIn about M-dashes. Have you seen all of this? Everyone's hating on M-dashes.
Are you for it or against it, real quick?
I'm not gonna lie, like I've never used M-dashes in my personal writing, so I'm fine with not using M-dashes, but equally I know that's a legitimate like grammatical piece of information to use. So
but
like
now it's like associated as like a
everyone's
ChatGPT
like
giveaway.
that's AI, and like there are people going out of their way not to engage with content that appears to be AI. So that's a little bit of a red flag to me as a marketer. I'm like, okay, people obviously don't trust AI generated content. There's something inauthentic about it. If a real human hasn't sitting down and written that piece of content, or hasn't sat down and had a conversation and filmed it, there's something there that's causing distrust. So as a brand, it could be tempting to really like amp up the volume of content you're putting online using AI, but it's important to remember that you are slowly eroding trust by using these masses of AI-generated content, and that's actually not what your customers want. So I think AI is a really powerful tool to enhance real human content, but it's not there to replace it. And as a brand, you need to be wary of wanting to use AI all the time to generate more and more and more. The brands that are going to stand out in the next few years are going to be the ones that continue to feature real humans in their content, because they're going to stand out in the sea of AI generated stuff.
With that, have you seen have you seen these AI creators?
Oh my God.
These AI like avatar like creators. Like I think the OG one is like Lil Michaela.
Yeah.
And now these are like full-on brands now, like on their own. Like they are creators, love it or hate it. They are verified for some reason.
Yeah.
And
verified for what? Like you're not real.
No, that's the weirdest thing ever, is that they have a blue check mark.
Yeah.
But I think that like with them getting sponsorships and stuff, is that a space that you see getting bigger, or will just humans always be creators?
Put it this way. If I wanted a skincare recommendation, would I ask someone with skin?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what?
Like, I don't want, I think it's Aitana Lopez.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen her profile, but it's scary. Like, she does look real.
Yes.
She's got pink hair. She's like incredibly beautiful. I'm like, if she had skin, I would want her recommendations because her skin's perfect.
Yeah.
But the reason it's perfect is because it's AI generated.
Yeah.
I look at that content and it's like disconcerting to me. That makes me uncomfy as hell.
It's so Black Mirror.
It's just a little bit weird, right? And it's cool, and there's some novelty there in the fact that it's an AI influencer. And yes, she is bringing in some brand partnerships. So there's some money to be made in that space. But I do think as a brand, there is, again, a little bit of eroding trust when you work with an AI influencer. You can't get an actual opinion and an actual recommendation from something that isn't sentient. That's just not possible. So as a person with skin, I wanna hear someone who has skin give me a recommendation based on their true experience. And I don't see that space growing heavily. I think that's just kind of a cool novelty. I think the novelty is going to wear off.
Yeah, I think it's a fun little like 3D project, if anything. I think that people love, I mean, unless they like straight up give them like more realistic personalities, I feel like it's going to be a long time before we worry about AI creators. Some of the biggest creators right now are big because they have certain principles and or morals that they stand behind. And I feel like for an AI creator, there isn't that possibility unless they, I guess, wired it or something. But it's just, I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, and the argument I hear a lot is like, well, AI content's going to get so good that you won't be able to tell the difference, right? I already see content online where I'm like, oh my God, what's going on there? And then I realize their foot looks really fucked up, and I'm like, oh, that's AI. Like, sometimes it takes me a little minute to clock that it's AI. But we've all seen an influencer who's been cancelled for not putting, like, this was a brand sponsorship, right? Yes. In the same way, brands are going to get cancelled if they're not disclosing that they're using AI to create their content. That is going to be a must. Like, every brand is going to need to disclose that that's AI content. So we're not actually going to be getting away with, like, putting this content out into the world and people thinking it's real. That erodes trust. We're going to have to be honest about the use of AI.
And I feel like it's a bigger giveaway from an AI creator than a like real person creator. Like, yes, you have to disclose as a real human creator, but as an AI, the second I see a product placement, it's like, this is paid for.
Exactly.
This is a sponsored movie kind of thing.
And
so if AI could generate entire ad campaigns, do you think human-made ads will even exist in 5 years?
Yeah, I think I've probably answered that question already, but absolutely. If your product or service comes into contact with a real human being, the real human being wants to see some social proof that is resolving a problem. And we're not going to get that social proof from AI because it ain't social. It's not real.
I think it's also a little scary with AI in general is because, like, yes, it is used as a tool, but I feel like if the human, let's say, behind it isn't like 100% attentive to everything that's going on, you could easily like slip into stuff. Like, we've all sent the email that had insert form link in the actual email kind of thing. But even not just in that, but even like when I'm typing furiously at, like, let's say a ChatGPT model, I don't have to type perfectly. I can type with a lot of typos and it will get it. But I think in the long run, that's bad for me as a human to like type just gibberish, and I'm sure it'll spit it out.
So I have a theory. I think brands are going to start putting mistakes out
on purpose
more often on purpose. I think that's going to be a sign of a real human being involved in the production of that content. So I think mistakes, like, I don't know, I've seen posts go up and I've known, like, a social media manager is crying right now. Like, they fucked up and they posted that by accident. Like, they posted a graphic that had a typo in it and you just know they got through approvals and they posted it and suddenly there was a typo there that they didn't realize. And that's like the worst moment. And I've got empathy in that situation, and I actually like connect with that piece of content more, if anything, because I'm like, man, I feel for that person sitting there crying at their desk right now. So I don't know. I think it's a natural human thing to make errors, And I think that's something we all have like empathy for, and that helps us connect. And there's vulnerability in making mistakes.
Yeah.
And AI doesn't make mistakes, and it isn't vulnerable, and there's just no emotional connection there, and there never will be.
I think that is it. That like AI can be useful, but if brands lean too hard on it, they lose the thing that actually connects with people, which is like a human touch.
Yeah.
Sasha, this was a very fun conversation to have. I want to do the like hot ones thing where I go like this camera, this camera, this camera.
Okay.
Where can people find you if they want to check out what you're working on?
So you can find us at Real Humans on TikTok and on Instagram. And you can also find me, Sasha McLeod, on LinkedIn. I do lots of posting there. Not that anyone like wants to hear what I've got to say a lot of the time, but like, hey,
you'd be surprised.
You listen to this whole podcast, so like
exactly.
If you got here, it's kind of interesting.
Go follow her LinkedIn right now.
Totally. I need clout. Please follow me.
And for everyone listening, if you want more marketing breakdowns like this, subscribe to the newsletter where we go deep on brand trends, UGC plays, and how to actually make content that works in 2025. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this, rate the podcast, share it, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.